Hello there, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today, Enhancing Payment Reliability, one of our testing webinars that we are covering off with, I say, dedicated speakers that have got background experience in this particular area. Today, I am joined by Igor Kovalenko and Michael Tamara, and we'll be discussing this topic at length. In the event that people have got any questions as we go through, I would ask you, if possible, please to put them into the common chat, and we will discuss those at the end. Okay, without further ado, let's make a start. Okay, Igor, maybe let's get you to kick us off on this. What do you think the importance of testing payment systems are for security and user experience?
Hi everyone. Yeah, that's a good question. Just for now, as you know, payments is everything around of us. We have web application, mobile application, and we need to use payment system in all of our life. And of course, we need to make sure that this activity secure has a good performance. Of course, preferable if you talk about UI and UX. And of course, if we talk about assurance of quality payment methods, so we talk about this process, and testing is a part of this process. And of course, we need to test everything to make sure that everything works fine, and user will be satisfied of this activity.
Okay, Mikhail, have you got any additional points that you would like to add there for our audience?
Hello everyone. Basically, Igor has covered the topic, so maybe I would just add that the complexity of payment systems maybe continues to grow, as does the complexity of many other modern solutions. So the amount of testing that's required for building products in this niche just continues growing.
Okay. What regulatory standards exist within the industry the systems need to adhere to? Who would like to pick that one up?
Yeah, there are standards here, of course, because this is all about security. This is all about money, and I can name such standard as PCI DSS. That's well known among testers who work in this area, and it regulates the operations with cards, with handling information about card owners within the payment systems owner databases. And of course, it makes it crucial for the vendors, for the payment systems owners to follow these standards, follow the recommendations of the standard to ensure that the customer data is safe, it is not leaked, and the operations are in compliance with general laws and regulations. Otherwise, they are not authorized to provide payment services to their customers and can face fines and maybe get out of business.
Are these companies that do this audited? As in, do they need to provide an audit trail for this type of thing?
Yes, exactly. That's why auditing of payment services providers is necessary, because auditors who are well familiar with the regulations of such standards, they need to verify the operations, verify the security of the data, and the overall process.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for that. So let's move on a little bit on this. So how do we go about, say, undertaking testing in payment systems? Mikhail, maybe you would like to make a start on this particular area.
Yes, we can divide testing activities here maybe into three main groups. Functional testing, of course, performance testing, security testing, and integration testing. And here I mean the most important part of this is integration with third-party services, banking payments, methods, and not only banking, different kinds of payments methods, and also verification verification methods to ensure to confirm the identity of the customers. They are also done by third-party providers. So functional testing obviously verifies that the system works as it is expected. Payments are going through, information is being saved, information that clients provide, and the purchases which these payments should handle, the purchases are also going smoothly. So performance is necessary because sometimes the workload, the system can be overloaded by a number of customers, and the provider must be sure that it can handle the peak load of customers. Security obviously is necessary to ensure the safety of data, the safety of customers' money, and the integration, the testing of integration with third-party services is equally important because each third party, each external service introduces some risks, potentially some defects, because some of its functionality is out of control for the payment systems provider. So
Okay.
basically that's it.
I'll come back to you in a second, Igor, on that. One point there stands out from my perspective for an interesting question. When a system's got multiple payment solutions, how do you ensure that all of those solutions work for each of the corresponding respective payment providers?
Yes, it's an important question for such systems because all of them should be tested, and it may be quite a challenge for a testing team to test all the payment solutions, external payment solutions, because it may require the for testers to be registered in certain services. Sometimes it may be a localized service. It may require identification of a certain country, etc. So for this purpose, it may be even useful to get an international team of testers who would reside in different countries, who would have easy access to different localized payments and be able to use them.
Okay. Igor, let's bring you back in on this particular one. Any additional points on testing in general and as approach, as well as your thoughts on this particular question?
Go back into the previous discussion. I would like to highlight several testing types, except of functional, security, and performance. I mean localization and internationalization testing. So if you talk about more global platforms, when we have a lot of countries, currencies, and of course we need to verify that in each of the country we could see the required currencies, taxes, fees. Of course, it should be on the corresponding language and in the corresponding way. And if you talk about difference about payments. For example, China, we have WeChat, and you need to go the specific flow to complete your order. And we perform this kind of testing too, because it's a part of all complex testing process, not only about functional. And if you talk about usability, of course, we need to test how your application looks. So UI and UX, user interface and user experience testing is required too, because if you talk about competition of the payments application, of course, user will select more preferable and more user experienceable application, and it not depends on functionality. So we have several part of the coin. And except of this, if you talk about mobile testing, we should think about accessibility testing. So when we think about our potential user, we need to think about that not all user could use your application in the same way. So accessibility testing is about it. That's about testing of types. If we talk about um, different condition, if you talk about multiple, yeah,
Multiple payment sources.
yeah, my idea, not only different payment methods that we should test, we should think different pairs. So, for example, several payment methods and several shipping methods. The same payment method could be used in different countries, and this payment method, for example, if you talk about Klarna used not only in Europe, in US, and of course it could be different currency. And for example, if you use different country, different language, we should think about different pairs and to cover as much as possible. As Michael said, yes, this is a real challenge for test team. But as a good approach, we have test design techniques, for example, pairwise testing, and we have AI tool for it to cover more test cases. For example, we could use um, one payment method and one shipping methods, for example, one country and one currency. And in this way, we could cover a lot of cases, not all, but as much as possible.
Okay. That's very, very interesting. We also touched on taxes as well, where effectively, if a system is global, the taxes that exist in each of the corresponding countries are going to be different. But if it's a global application or a global website, then effectively you have to consider all the tax implications for each of those corresponding countries. And of course, each one has to be correct. No one wants to be audited on tax within their respective countries. So how do you look at that and understand the appropriate implications that each of the corresponding tax elements has got?
Question for me?
Whoever
Okay.
would like to pick this one up,
Okay,
I'm
okay,
happy. Yeah.
okay. If you don't mind, I could start. Of course, first of all, we need to familiarize with our requirements, and of course, each country has its own taxes, and after this, we need to understand the logic of it. So, for example, if you select a different, for example, let's imagine you have different shipping methods, and each of these shipping method has its own price. price, taxes, and could be fees. And when you select one, then another, and you could see that the sum should change. And this is about visibility. But if you have possibility to check it on backend or in admin panel, it's a good way to understand that on backend side the logic works too. And of course, we need to match our requirement with functionality in real time.
Okay. Okay. That's interesting. Michael, anything that you'd like to add on that particular question at all?
Not much. Igor pretty much covered this question with his answer, but just maybe I would highlight that yes, ideally we as a tester team should expect these requirements to be written for all the cases with the different taxes for payments into or from different countries. In case there is a need for clarification of these requirements, if there is visibly if there's a visible gap in these requirements for some countries when we are dealing with an international payment systems, well, it of course it's always useful for testers to bring this question up to do a research on their own if the time allows, and to confirm this with a team, with a product owner, with a business analyst, to clarify and ensure there would be no gaps in tests and as thus in future use cases.
Okay. All right. One more question from me before we move on. We touched on this as part of this topic already. How is testing a web application different from a mobile application, specifically for payment systems? I know we talked about accessibility being one, but I'm assuming that obviously covers all mobile-based applications. But from a banking or payment-based processing element, what differences are there between mobile and web-based applications? Or are they exactly the same?
Well, the functionality usually is the same, but mobile applications have their own specific, I would say, behavior cases, which also may need to be taken into account and checked during testing. Mobile phones can accept calls through a cellular network. They can get low energy. They can switch off during the transaction for various reasons. Probably going to sleep due to a button misclick, etc. They can get different applications getting started during the work of financial application which is being tested. Things like that might and even should be taken into account and verified as well. How do they impact payments? Ideally, they should not, but in some cases, there's a risk they would disrupt some payments, and in this case, for example, a tester team should verify that if a payment was disrupted, it got handled correctly on the backend. For example, customers' funds were not sent or they were returned, etc.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much on that one. Okay. Then let's move on. So let's move back to Igor to start this one off. What manual testing techniques would you use when looking at testing payment-based systems?
If you talk about techniques
Mhm.
and approach, we use different testing processes and testing approach. It depends on requirements from the customers, of course, but usually we start with familiarizing with the requirements, what the customers should require from this testing. Of course, so we oriented on the standards regulatory. So it depends on country, depends on general standards, and as previously discussed, we use standard types of testing functionality. So we need to verify how smoothly functionality works. It's about all kinds of this and verification and validation and functionality in general. Of course, we need to think about integration. So it's the main part, because if we do not think before testing about integration with support testing, it could be a big problem on production when we have no possibility to use several payment methods, and we have no possibility to fix it because it's not in our scope of responsibility, and our developers could not fix it. And about security, security is a main part of testing and approach, and we should think about all positive and negative scenarios for users, depending on web and mobile. Continuous discussion in previous question, mobile and web different in security too. For example, if you talk about mobile, we should think about biometric methods. For example, you need to verify Face ID, Touch ID, and if you talk about web, it's about certificates, TCL and SSL, and cookies. So this way we need to test too. And if you talk about regression testing that we do always, we could think about automation some processes. For example, if we have possibility to automate some routine, we could do it, and of course more stable functionality could be automated. And if we talk about user preferability for of your device, of your platform or application, we should think about usability in general, and in this way we need to think about user interface, user experience, and accessibility too.
Okay, thank you. Michael, anything that you would like to add to Igor's comments on this particular area?
I think nothing really. Igor has covered the basics.
Okay.
We can talk also about security or performance testing. Security testing scenarios should also be present, especially when it is about payments, because, as we said, the data needs to be safe and the money needs to be sent without issues. So security tests should verify that unauthorized access to customers' data, to cardholders' data, is not possible, that encryption is in place, that sensitive data is encrypted, of course, that authentication to prevent unauthorized access is present at each step whenever it's needed, that fraud detection works, that vulnerabilities are checked and eliminated whenever found, such as, for example, SQL injection cases, cross-site scripting, etc. And as for performance testing, it is usually performed by using tools such as JMeter or Load Runner to emulate high user load. and seeing how system can handle these peak loads.
Okay, all right, thank you. Just a reminder to our audience, if you have any additional questions as we go through, please write them in the chat and we will cover them off at the end. One additional question from myself now. Negative testing. I assume that, as say for payments-based solutions, they are probably as important, and maybe in some instances, maybe more important. For payment-based systems. So how do you go about covering off negative tests? Mikhail, maybe you'd like to pick up one.
Yes, negative cases should not be overseen, of course. I mean, they should not be overlooked. They may include such things as incorrect customer behavior, for example, like a very simple example, clicking payment button twice. In this case, of course, the system should prevent itself from sending the payment twice because it doesn't make sense.
No one wants to be
Users,
charged twice for the same item. Yeah.
yes, users can make mistakes, and many of them will make mistakes, and still the system should be safe from that. So once the basic user scenarios are analyzed, they are documented, and the team already goes through them, the tester team, I mean, it is always necessary to consider all possible negative cases, all possible misclicks by users, and edge cases for when the system might misbehave.
Yes.
As we already discussed for mobile applications, what if the ongoing payment gets disrupted by other applications on the mobile device, by phone call, by a network disruption, by low energy, etc. It may be quite a rare case, but it still must be considered.
Okay. Igor, any additional thoughts on this particular area?
Yeah, in additional, negative test scenario could be as a validation of transaction. For example, if you talk about cards, credit or debit, we need to test, for example, testing with invalid data, credit card numbers, expiration dates, CVV codes, or, for example, incorrect billing address. If you talk about external payment methods, third-party payment methods, it could be PayPal or Google Pay, and we have different validation of it. We talk about incorrect credentials, or for example, if you talk about Apple Pay, you need to use a real billing address and shipping address and your cards. And for example, if you use not a live card, it could be problems with this. So of course it should be tested too. Except of this, we need to check system errors. So if you talk about transaction failures, for example, you could on the any stage switch off your internet connection and see how it looks. Do you see any hint or notification about this? For example, after this, you could switch on your internet connection and see how it works further, because it could be happen in future with user. If you talk about security, very often use some anti-fraud mechanisms, for example, account lockout. For example, when you use different failed attempts to make place order, and after this, the system should lock your account, because it's very dangerous and perhaps need to check your activities and your account. One more, it's about refund and reversal scenarios. For example, to check if a user need to back out their payment, and how it could be with different payment methods and communication and collaboration with bank.
I guess that also depends on the terms and conditions as well. For example, for Amazon, they reserve the right that in the event that the item has already been dispatched, you can't obviously get a refund unless it's returned. Yeah. But
Yep.
your point is valid. Your point is quite valid. Yeah. And one more additional question from myself before we actually physically move on. How do we validate that if a payment's not been successful, that the user is aware of the situation at the time? Yeah. For example, they don't have enough balance left on their account, or that they've entered their credentials wrong. So, how do we ensure that they are, as say, advised of the situation at the time? Yeah. Who would like to pick that one up? Igor, do you want to pick that one up?
Yes. First of all, it should be um, notified user. So each of the stage should mark it. For example, if you if you added items in cart, of course, so you need to see first message about this one. For example, if you have some errors, so for example, this item are not available in this moment, you should the corresponding error message. The same situation should be with payment. For example, if some third-party payments do not available in this moment, of course, you should see the corresponding notification, and to have possibility to select other payment methods, and this is required too. Also, if you have possibility to check um, order progress in admin panel. For example, we have CSS portal, or for example, even database. You could see it on backend how on which stage your order now, and at the end of the process, for example, when you need to make order to place order, you should see thank you page, for example. So you should see that you completed it successfully, and all needed data of your order that could help you to get your item, for example.
Okay. And by the reverse scenario, in the event that it's not successful, you should see
Yes, of
again
course.
why.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
and on each of this stage, you should see the corresponding notification
Brilliant.
what wrong.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And from a customer perspective, it's just good. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Let's move on. So, Mikhail, what kind of common issues can occur whilst you're actually undertaking payment testing based solutions?
There are many typical issues. Some of them have been already mentioned by Igor and myself. First of all, payment validations. It may be the most common thing, maybe not. Mm, it may be not so painful for the customer, but still, the validation must be must be transparent. It should the payment system should verify that accounts have been debited or credited correctly, currency conversions are done correctly, and transaction statuses are also displayed correctly for the customer. And each step of this process, there may be a defect. So functional testing should take care of that. Even a successful payment may occasionally get reported as unsuccessful or stuck in progress, etc. Customer may not be mad about that, but still it would be a problem if it occurs very often.
Okay.
Then the third-party integrations, which we already mentioned. These integrations are essential because people and systems need various different alternative ways to get funds through. And on the other hand, each integration brings potential defects and risks. First of all, the biggest risk is that the integration uses some other provider's solution, which is out of control for the current provider, and they have a different mechanism, different error handling, different protocols. It is necessary to understand how each of these external systems works, and testers should go through them, should check whether the integration is implemented correctly, each integration. And then the one that Igor already mentioned, currency and localization testing. First of all, even if the currency conversions are getting correctly, but there may be UI issues with currency symbols, with formats from different countries, from different languages. These issues may not be affecting the functioning of the system, but they may be frustrating for users.
Yeah. That actually brings in a very good question on this particular part. Some payment providers, well, okay, let's back that up very slightly. Where we talk about global-based solutions again, no specific website or mobile application is potentially going to accept currencies, all currencies around the world. Yeah. By the same token, not all payment providers will accept all currencies as well. So herein lies the question. Apologies for laboring this slightly. Where a payment provider may, for example, provide access to 20 currencies on different global currencies around the world, and another payment provider provides, say, 30 or even 40. How do you cover that off as part of your corresponding testing for each of the respective payment providers for both positive and negative based testing?
Well, from the testing team perspective, each any such case should be explored in detail separately. In each case, it may be a unique situation which needs to be confirmed with the business owner, with the product manager, to understand how to cover the possible mismatches, what to do in case some currencies are not accepted. These, of course, the exceptions are often made. Some currencies just cannot be accepted. Users must be informed about that in a correct way. If there are transactions cannot be served, they should not get through. I mean, their cards should not get credited for that, and they should be informed about that in a correct way again. So if we are to support all of the suggested currencies from the potential payers, we need to confirm that with the developers. We need to have that implemented. We need to have that reflected in the test scenarios, and we need to get it tested and confirm that it works. If we have exceptions, we need to, again, have these exceptions in the documentation correctly and confirm that users are correctly informed about those exceptions.
Okay. Igor, any additional thoughts on this particular topic, as well as the question as well?
Yeah, in general, if you talk about any integration should has its own requirements. So, and we need to communicate with each of from each of them, and to add this information in our requirements. And of course, as Michael said, if some change in the future, we need to know about it, and if we need to change something on our website or application for users, that something change, we need to know about this. But each of integration should be investigated. And for example, if we do not know what behavior should be in this case, our QA team before starting testing need to investigate this integration and gather all information as possible, and to put it in our general documentation to cover it via test cases. So except of testing, we do a lot of investigation in this way. And yes, of course, if you talk about global multiple platforms, and we need to understand all dependencies on potential disconnectivities of from this integration, and know all communication way, how to know what happened. Because, for example, if we have no possibility to use some payment methods and we don't know about this, so we need to ask about it, or to see in the on the corresponding website. For example, if you talk about bug tracking or management system Jira in general, yeah. For example, if you have some issue with it on their own website, we could see the status that something wrong, and their developers teams is working on this. The same way should be for each of the integration third-party payment, that we should know that this payment does not work right now, and we need to select other one.
Okay, that's logical. All right, thank you very much for that. Okay, final topic before we move on to additional questions. We have some coming in from our audience. Okay, what do we consider to be the best practices in payment testing at the moment? Igor, perhaps you'd like to cover this one off and start off, please.
Best practice just in general, you mean, yeah?
Correct, yes.
Of course, first of all, familiarization with the requirements. First of all, if you talk about in general, it could be the general testing process. So from requirements to execution of test cases. So we need to understand what should we cover to prepare for testing. If you talk about payments, it should be everything to set all needed environment, to prepare tools. If you talk about test design, we need to put all our requirements and user stories in test cases or checklists, for example, to cover how needed for as more as possible. And after this, we need to execute these test cases, and during the execution, we should to report the bugs if we will find, and after this we need to report about this for customers. So the general process, and of course it depends on application or requirements needed.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. I'm conscious that we are, I'd say, getting close to the end of our time, and I'm very keen to give some of our audience members an opportunity to ask, I'd say, their questions. So first question that we've got come through: is there any difference between penetration testing and security testing for payment-based systems? I know I have my thoughts on this, but I'm going to go to the floor and say, who would like to pick this one up?
I can speak about that a bit. So penetration testing is basically a subset of security testing. So it should it focuses on vulnerabilities where security can be breached, places, parts of a system that are vulnerable against possible attacks. Security in general not only focuses on penetration, it also, as we already mentioned, involves checking the authentication mechanisms, checking the integrity of the database, the encryption, and for example, inaccessibility of APIs to unauthorized access.
I tend to agree with your point, but I'm kind of make a slight distinction between that. Penetration testing tends to look at both potentially the hardware and the software to ensure that it can't be accessed in a way that shouldn't be able to. Whereas the security-based element can be within the software to ensure that, as say, all the validations or identifications are correct within there. Just elaborating a little bit more on what you said there. Igor, any additional points from your side on that?
I think Michael covered
Okay.
more, so nothing to add.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. Okay, an additional question that we've got coming through at the moment. As you say, you notify users on time for failed transactions. How do you notify end users that their transaction is declined while it is in a pending status in your admin panel? So effectively, you've actually think about Amazon. That effectively, obviously, for example, the payment's been taken, but obviously the item's not necessarily been dispatched, or the authentication needs to be validated externally, and it's in a pending-based state. So how would you then advise the user in the event that that status has changed?
Okay, I hope I've got it correctly in general. So the transaction can be still in progress in the payment system provider, at the system provider side, but it is already declined on, let's say, on the bank side,
Yes.
on the platform side.
For example, the
Okay,
turnaround is
so
not fast. Yeah. So effectively, they see it as pending, but then later they log off, and effectively later it comes back and updates from pending to declined. Yeah.
okay, I guess here we are talking not about functionality, but more about user experience. How to avoid making user frustrated, because of course users would like to get informed about their transactions being declined as soon as possible. But okay, what a payment provider can do in such a case, if they already have received the notification on some channel, but the system their system, their payment system that is being tested hasn't handled this cancellation yet. Well, the push notifications of some kind can help, even if the status is not changed, and it can be changed, for example, for some time until the system refreshes, as it does regularly, for example. But the push notifications came to a customer, and hopefully they have seen it and they know about that.
An example might be the payment integration is down at a particular point. So you keep pushing until obviously it goes through, and then it's potentially declined. At some point, you obviously, from a good usability perspective, obviously you have to advise the user. I think this isn't necessarily payment based. It's more potentially functionality within either the website or the mobile app. Maybe that effectively you would then either update the status so when they log in again they would see it, or potentially you could push a notification as an SMS or an email to say, unfortunately, yeah, it's been declined. You need to reprocess that. Yeah. Okay. Additional ones. Okay. Interesting question. Are there any tips on how to test refund functionality? Guys, any
Perhaps
thoughts on this one?
yeah. Refund functionality, so it could be in the same way as a usual purchase order, but of course you need to verify different types. For example, if platforms have not only cards and third-party payment method, for example, gift cards, or for example any rewards. It depends on different way of refunding, and we need to cover all of this functionality. So if you talk about general flow, so we need to make purchase order and try mm, to refund of it, or for example simulate it if possible, do not use in real world, and if you talk we can go back to the previous point of discussion. It should be notification too of it for users, and we need to see how it looks on website on the application, so that users should understand what happened. Also, very good point to get a mail about your activity, and if you talk about mm, a testing team, it's about admin panel when we have possibility to see the status of this order.
Okay, thank you very much, Hugo, for your thoughts on that one. We have an additional question that's come through. I tried to answer, as I say, the individual whilst we've been going through this. I'm not too sure that I understand it fully, but as I said, the question was, do you really cover non-functional testing for design with test cases? For me, non-functional based testing is normally in and around performance and security based elements, whilst the design is more aesthetic. I'm not sure that it actually would have non-functional based requirements as part of that, unless I've misinterpreted the question, with which case I apologize. Do you guys agree with that point at all, or do you have any additional thoughts? Don't want to leave our audience members hanging on that one. Yeah.
Yes, as for me, I agree. Though we could see the user experience scenarios like also a subset of non-functional testing. So in that, if it is, then in that case, of course, functionality and security maybe comes first, but user experience, customer satisfaction is no less important. The
Usability.
process must be easy, transparent. Yeah, it must be quick and non-painful for a customer. And for example, in messages notifications should be delivered for each step, because customers would be happy to receive confirmations or timely notifications about failures of their payments, etc. As for performance and security tests, yeah, surely at least the scenarios for performance testing should be created. For example, how many users in which period of time. For example, 1,000 people, 1,000 transactions in an hour, in 5 hours should be handled by the application. Yeah, it should be covered in scenarios and then realized accordingly using the specific tools.
Yeah. Okay. I think for now, just sanity check that. Yeah, I think we've covered off all of the questions from our audience for now. So with that, all of the topics covered that we had for today, I would like to thank our participants, Igor and Mikhail, for joining us to enlighten us with their knowledge, as well as our audience for joining us for this webinar and their interesting questions. So for now, thank you very much for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your day. Okay, bye guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.